friends, welcome back to part 2, Thursday, April 2nd. Now we have a story for you with lots of rhyming words.
And this is a book called Horton Hears a Who. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this book, but I absolutely love this book. And we have Horton here. He's going to listen too. And it's by Dr. Seuss. He's the author of the book. And Dr. Seuss books are great to find rhyming words. So let's go. And listen very carefully, because at the end of this story, we are going to give you some questions and we're going to see if you can answer them. On the 15th of May in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked toward the sound. That's funny, thought Horton. There's no one around. Then he heard it again, just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton, but who are you? Where? He looked and he looked. He could see nothing there, but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. And the small speck of dust is right there, just a little tiny speck. I say, murmured Horton, I've never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So you think what I think? Why, I think that there must be someone on top of that small speck of dust, some sort of creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eye. And there's this small speck of dust right there by his eye. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him, because after all, a person's a person, no matter how small. So gently and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. Hump, humped a voice. 'Twas a sour kangaroo, and the young kangaroo in her pouch said, hump too. Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there never has been. Believe me, said Horton, I tell you sincerely, my ears are quite keen and I heard him quite clearly. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's 2, even 3, even 4. Quite likely a family, for all that we know, a family with children just starting to grow. So please, Horton said, as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be. So many rhyming words. I think you're a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo, and the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too. You're the biggest blame fool in the jungle of Newell, and the kangaroos plunged in the cool of the pool. What terrible splashing, the elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked up the clover and hustled away. Through the high jungle trees, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower. And Horton walked worrying almost an hour. Should I put the speck down? Horton thought with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put it down, and I won't after all. A person's a person, no matter how small. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. The voice was so faint he could just barely hear it. Speak up, please, said Horton. He put his ear near it. My friend, came the voice, you're a very fine friend. You've helped all us folks on this dust speck no end. You've saved all our houses, our ceilings and floors. You've saved all our churches and grocery stores. You mean, Horton gasped, you have buildings there too? Oh yes, piped the voice, we most certainly do. I know, called the voice, I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of a town that is friendly whoos are all thankful and grateful to you. And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, "You're safe now, don't worry, I won't let you down." But just as he spoke to the mayor of the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, "What rot! This elephant's talking to who's or who are not. They aren't any who's and they don't have a mayor. And we're going to stop all this nonsense, so there." They snatched Horton's clover, they carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vlad Vladikov, a mighty strong eagle of very swift wing, and they said, "Will you kindly get rid of this thing?" And before the poor elephant even could speak, that eagle flew off with the flower in his beak. Uh-oh. All that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed bird flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, "Please don't harm all my little folks, who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do." But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder called back, "Quit your yapping. I'll fly the night through. I'm a bird. I don't mind it. And I'll hide this tomorrow where you'll never find it." And at 6:56 the next morning, he did it. It sure was a terrible place that he hid it. He let that small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers 100 miles wide. "Fine that," sneered the bird, "but I think you will fail." And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. "I'll find it," cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on my small speck of dust." And clover by clover with care, he picked up and searched them and called, "Are you there?" But clover by clover he found that the one that he sought for was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. Then on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last on the 3,000,000th flower. "My friends," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell, are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well?" From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. We really had trouble, much more than our share, when that black-bottomed birdie let go and we dropped. We landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped. Our teapots are broken, our rocking chairs smashed, and our bicycle tires all blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please," pleaded that voice of the mayor's, "will you stick by us who's while we're making repairs?" "Of course," Horton answered, "of course I will stick. I'll stick by you small folks through thin and through thick." "Humph, humph," a voice. "For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who've never existed. Such carryings on in our peaceable jungle. We've had quite enough of your bellowing bungle. And I'm here to state," snapped the big kangaroo, "that your silly, nonsensical game is all through." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too." With the help of the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped and you're going to be caged. And as for your dust speck, ha! That we shall boil in a hot steaming kettle of bezelnut oil. "Boil it," gasped Horton. "Oh, that you can't do. It's all full of persons. They'll prove it to you." Mr. Mayor, Horton called. "Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there, so call a big meeting, get everyone out. Make every who holler, make every who shout. Make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in a bezelnut stew." And down on the dust speck, the scared little mayor called a big meeting in the Whoville town square. And as people cried loudly, they cried out in fear, "We are here! We are here! We are here! We are here!" Rowan smiled. That was clear as a bell. You kangaroo certainly heard that very well. All I heard, snapped the big kangaroo, was the breeze and the faint sound of wind through the far distant trees. I heard no small voices, and you didn't either, and the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me neither. Grab him, they shouted, and cage the big dope. Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose, then dunk that speck in the beetle nest juice. Horton fought back with a great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too many for him. They beat him, they mauled him, they started to haul him into his cage, but he managed to call to the mare, don't give up, I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small, and you very smart persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard, so come on now and try. The mare grabbed a tom-tom. He started to smack it, and all over Whoville they whooped up a racket. They rattled tin kettles. They beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots, and clarinets, oompas, and boompas, and flutes. Great gusts of loud racket rang high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky. And the mare called up through the howling mad hullabaloo, hey, Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through? And Horton called back, I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every who down in Whoville is working? Quick, look through your town. Is there anyone shirking? Through the town rushed the mare from the east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping, everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping. But it wasn't enough, all this ruckus and roar. He had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building, he searched floor to floor, and just as he felt he was getting nowhere and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mare discovered one shirker quite hidden away in the Fairfax Apartments, apartment 12J. A very small shirker named Jojo was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo, not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp, and the mare rushed inside and grabbed the young twerp. And he climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. This, cried the mare, is your town's darkest hour. The time for all who have blood that is red to come to the aid of their country, he said. We've got to make noises in greater amounts, so open your mouth, lad, for every voice counts. Thus he spoke as he climbed. When they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and he shouted out, Yop! And that yop, that one small extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on that clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons no matter how small, and their whole world was saved by the smallest of all. How true, yes, how true, said the big kangaroo, and from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, Me too! From sun in the summer, from rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them no matter how smallish. That's such a great story, boys and girls, and kind of the moral of that story is a person no matter how small. We don't judge people by the way they look. They're still a person. And now Miss Trish is going to ask you some questions and see if you can answer them if you were listening to the story.
Thank you, Miss Jenner, for that great story with all those rhyming words. Now I have a game to play with you, questions and answers about our story. Number 1, what is Horton? This is multiple choice, so I'm going to give you some options. Number 1, was Horton a zebra, an elephant, a little boy, or a dog? Let me see, can I hear your answer? That's right, an elephant. Good job, and here he is right here. Number 2, When Horton hears a very small noise, he tries to figure out where it's coming from. What does he finally see? A little bug. B, a very small flower. C, a tiny rock. Or D, a small speck of dust? That's right. The answer is D, a small speck of dust. Number 3, Horton takes the objects that he finds and puts it down where? A, on a small green moss, on some green moss, on a very soft clover. C, on the ground. D, in a nest of straw. That's right. It is B, a very soft clover. You guys listened really well. Number 4, an animal comes by and makes fun of Horton for protecting the small object. What kind of animal was that? A, a cranky cat. B, an annoyed aardvark. C, a sour kangaroo. Or D, a sassy bear? That is right. C, a sour kangaroo. Nice job. We have 3 more. Number 5. What is the town called that Horton has saved? Was it A, Whoville, B, Blueville, hey, that rhymes, C, Newville, or D, Rouville? If you said Whoville, A, you are right. All the animals in the forest still don't believe that Horton has friends on a tiny object he has been protecting. What does Horton do? A, he tells the mayor of Whoville that everybody needs to make some noise. Or B, he takes his friends and runs away. Or C, he gets a magnifying glass so everyone can see the Whos. Or D, he leaves the jungle with his friends and never comes back. Absolutely right. A, he tells the mayor of Whoville that everybody needs to make noise. We know you guys can do that, right? Last question. Did they finally hear the Whos in the story? Yes or no? Absolutely right. The answer is yes. Good job, boys and girls. That was a great story with lots of rhyming words. You may even have that book at home that you could go through with mom and dad or family and pick out all the rhyming words.
And don't forget your extra credit homework. Send us a word that rhymes with pig, with sock, and with take. Bye for now, boys and girls.
Bye.